What's up, Met fans? Welcome back. Talking Mets here, Rob. Live right now, Mets free agent rumors. You know the guys that are all over Twitter, all over the news. Max Scherzer, Kevin Gausman. It seems like the Mets made an offer to Kevin Gausman. It sounded like it was 5 years, 140. And apparently, they actually made a lot of progress with Max Scherzer when it came to a contract. But again, it's only a matter of if the Mets can get Scherzer away from the West Coast. I think they can, honestly. I think they're gonna have to give more than any other team. If the Dodgers or the Angels or the Mariners, anybody you want to talk about when it comes to Max Scherzer, I think if they have to go at least $10 million more to actually get Scherzer, because that's the only way you're gonna have to rip him from the West Coast to bring him to the East Coast, guys. So what's up, guys? How's everybody doing? Angel, Jose, Transistor, DJ, Percival, Michael, Hayden, Fernando. What's up, guys? How you doing? David, how you doing, guys? All right, so there was some breaking news. Didn't regard the Mets. Somebody just put it in the comments. Simeon to the Rangers for 7 years. That's a lot of money for Simeon, but it's well worth it. And also, there was another signing that didn't involve a player changing teams. Byron Buxton finally got his deal from the Twins. 7 years, $100 million. That's a great deal for the Twins and Byron Buxton. Obviously, before the Mets signed Starlin Marte, people talked about trading for Byron Buxton, but he signed with the Twins for 7 years, and that goes out the window as well for other teams. And also, Avisail Garcia to the Marlins on a 4-year deal. So even the Marlins are spending money, guys. So baseball has money. There's no doubt about it, guys. I'm shocked by the amount of money that's being spent. But again, I think a lot of teams and a lot of players are scared off by the collective bargaining agreement deadline on December 2nd. Nobody wants to be in limbo. Players want to know where they're going to play and when they're going to live. Teams need to know their roster because who knows how long this lockout is going to be. It can last 2 months all the way until spring training, if not further. Let's hope not. But again, guys, with the news regarding the Mets aggressively pursuing Max Scherzer is exactly what the Mets need to do. Now, I was happy that the Mets spent money on position players because I thought the plan would be spend money on position players and make a big trade for a starting pitcher and sign the middle of the road, like a number 3 or a number 4 starting pitcher, along with a big time number 2 behind Jacob deGrom, like a Luis Castillo. But the good news is that the Mets are in a pretty good spot because they're aggressively pursuing Gausman and Scherzer. It seems like they're really trying hard with Scherzer. I'm assuming they're probably trying to convince him to come to the East Coast because every team that is involved with Scherzer is on the West Coast. So, again, I think the Mets have to overspend even more than any other West Coast team on Scherzer, but I think the Mets are willing to do it. And why the hell not, right? I'm not sure about the years. I'm assuming teams will give him 2 years. That's probably exactly where everybody's probably going with any team. But maybe that third year can be that bigger incentive. Maybe it's a club option or a player option or a mutual option. That would be interesting as well, guys. So I think the Mets need to do whatever it takes, no matter how much it takes. Don't get crazy about the years. Don't keep on adding on years to the contract because Scherzer is 37-year-old, but I think he's worth it for 2 or 3 years, especially behind Jacob deGrom. He's still got life in that arm. He's a bulldog on the mound. We all know. We saw what he did with the Dodgers. I think it's a no-brainer. I'm not a big fan of Gausman, but I'm not going to go crazy if the Mets sign Gausman, even though I do want Scherzer over Gausman. But you know what? It looks like the Mets are probably not going to sign Stroman. Like I said, I don't think Eppler really likes Stroman, and I don't think Stroman is actually the guy for this team. You know, he's been all over Twitter saying, "Oh, the Mets don't want me." Blah blah blah. They want other pitchers. I'm better than these pitchers and all that. But who cares? Who cares, guys? At the end of the day, Scherzer and Gausman is the guy. If you put one of them in the rotation, they're going to be better. But with Scherzer, it's just going to put another level to this Mets rotation. That's exactly what I think the Mets should do. But again, it's more about convincing Scherzer. I think the Mets can give the most money per year. It's just a matter of can the Mets convince Scherzer. So let me look at the comments, guys. Don't forget, guys, please hit on that like button. Let's get this stream out to more people. And if you're new to the channel, say what's up in the chat, guys, and hit on that subscribe button. Just Kicks, Jose, Matthew, how you doing? Michael as well. Robert, how you doing? I'm doing good. I hope you're doing good. Transistor, what's up? Question. Why do you think this time around will be different to last year when we never got any of the top free agents? Because I think it's a totally different mindset when it comes to Billy Eppler. Because remember who was running things? It was technically Jared Porter, but then he got fired. And then Zach Scott was like in limbo, basically was his replacement, but Sandy Alderson was calling the shots. And we know about Sandy Alderson. He waits until the best deal possible, waits too long, and then either loses out or doesn't get the guy that he actually wanted, but gets a lesser player. But I think Billy Eppler is very aggressive. And you see, he's got the connections with the agents. And I think Eppler is trying to learn from his mistakes that he made with the Angels when it came to pitching, because he did a terrible job with the pitching rotation and the bullpen for the Angels. So he's clearly learning from his mistakes. Eppler is a lineup builder. There's no doubt about it. He did it with the Angels. The Angels can score a lot of runs, but they can never pitch. It's looking like he's trying to solve that with the Mets. Bring in big time starting pitcher and see what happens. Like I said, if the Mets can get either Baez or Bryant, bring one of those guys in, and then bring in Scherzer, that fills out your roster, and I'll be very excited for that puts the Mets would have to still work on the bullpen a little bit, but it's a good way to start the offseason for the Mets, especially right before the possible lockout on December 2nd. Matthew, let's see. Realistically, I think we should get Gausman, Rodon. Yeah, and we got an awesome rotation. Yeah, I like Rodon. I don't know if the Mets. I'm not sure if Rodon. I think he has a draft pick attached to him, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't think the Mets are going to go that route. I don't think they want to give a big contract and lose a draft pick as well. So if Rodon actually has a draft pick attached to him, then the Mets are not going to go that route. That's why they're going heavy after Gausman and Scherzer, because both of them don't have a draft pick attached to them. So, and that's been the big thing with the Mets. They don't want to give up that draft pick. And again, the players that's why you haven't heard nothing about Castellanos, because he has a draft pick attached, and the Mets do not want to do that. Even though I wouldn't mind them in Castellanos, but it doesn't look like they want to give a big contract and give up that draft pick. Let's see. Do we still have Brad Hand? No, Brad Hand's a free agent. I don't want that guy. I think he's just terrible, and I don't think it's worth it. Taylor Rogers of the Twins is an interesting candidate. He is not a free agent, so the Mets would have to trade for him. So we have to wait and see. But the Mets need to, they got to replace Familia. They got to replace Loop. So they got a lot to do with their bullpen. But it seemed like the Mets are going to probably wait to do bullpen moves, a trade or free agency, after or whenever this lockout would end. So it just makes sense that the Mets would be focused on position players and starters at the moment. Let's see. Andrew. Oh, I'm sorry. Hayden. What worries me about Gausman is that he really. I agree. But you know what? Sometimes pitchers, like, let's be honest, when Max Scherzer signed with the Nationals, right? He wasn't the greatest pitcher with the Tigers, right? He was a solid pitcher, but when he got to the Nationals, he became a Cy Young winner. He got better. And you never know. Sometimes a pitcher can find it with an organization. You know, it might be a certain pitch that they told him to throw more, and maybe it's his adjustment on the mound. It could be so many things. His windup, his arm position, so many things. The way he plants his feet, where he puts his foot on the rubber, is so many things that the Giants could have fixed with Gausman, and they finally figured it out. And it could benefit Gausman going ahead. He could be the better pitcher, bigger pitcher. But there's no doubt about it. Max Scherzer is the guy to get. And everybody who's been killing me on my channel, I'm not. There's been a few that keeps on complaining about, oh, the Mets can't trade prospects. The Mets shouldn't get this guy, an older guy like Marte, or get Scherzer. He's 37 years old. You have to understand one thing, guys. This team, even more now with the signings on Friday, they're a win now team. They got a 2 to 3 year window with Jacob deGrom and the guys that they signed, the Escobars, the Martes of the world, and who knows what else they're going to sign. If they bring in Max Scherzer, that's another older veteran. So they're looking to do big things in 2 to 3 years, because you can't keep on wasting the years of Jacob deGrom and expect this team bringing up their prospects in 4 years. You know, the Beatties, the Mauricios, the Vientos, Allens, all those guys. There's no guarantee these guys are going to be good. And you can't wait for that, because if the Mets don't make a move, keep on leaving these prospects in the minor leagues, and you bring them up and they don't perform, they lose value. You see what the Yankees have done with all their guys. I mean, they released Clint Frazier, who was a top 5 prospect when they traded him, when they got him from Cleveland. Like, same thing with Andrew Hart. They held on to these guys way too long, and now there's no value attached to them. And that's what the Mets can't do. So it's obvious now the Mets are a win now team. They got a window of 2 to 3 years with this core of older guys. DeGrom, Carrasco, 2 guys in a rotation already that are up there in age, that got about 2 to 3 years left of really, really good performances. Who knows? If DeGrom is actually healthy, you have a Cy Young Award winner for maybe 2 or 3 more years. And, you know, Marte is 33 years old. So it's a win now team, guys. And there's no doubt about it that the Mets are trying to win in this window. And it just makes sense right now, because honestly, if you really think about it, it's looking like McNeil is going to be gone. And teams are actually calling the Mets about Jeff McNeil. So that's another thing. You know, like I said, the Mets need to call up the Reds, see the price for Castillo. The price is high, but I think the Mets, they have enough pieces. You got 2 third basemen in your minor league system in the top 10. We know it was Beatty and Vientos. You got a shortstop in Mauricio, who has nowhere to play, who is behind Lindor. If the Mets happen to get Baez or Bryant, that's another spot that Mauricio can't play. So he's just wasting away in the minor leagues when his value is at a really, really big high. And the Mets need to take advantage of that. So let me see what else we got with the comments. Andre, I don't see Scherzer come to the Mets. Gausman is negotiating with the Giants. Worried Mets will strike out on top pitchers. Well, like I said, if they strike out on Gausman, if they strike out on Scherzer, it's not that the Mets didn't try, right? They were probably willing to go give big time contracts and money to both of these guys. If a player picks elsewhere because that's where they feel more comfortable, you can't do nothing about it. It's not like the Mets didn't try. Clearly, they could aggressively pursuing Scherzer, and they look like they offered a contract to Gausman. It's just a matter of, is he going to take it? Maybe the Mets do have the biggest offer for Gausman, and Gausman took it to the Giants and see what they can do, because he wants to stay with the Giants. But you never know. But again, I always said the Mets this offseason should spend a lot of money on position players in free agency and work with trades to get a number two behind DeGrom. And you can talk about many pitchers you want to talk about. I specifically like Castillo, and I think the Mets should do everything they can to get him. And we have the pieces to do that on the big league level and the minor league level. You know, there's still teams that really like McNeil. And McNeil, Dominic Smith, and J.D. Davis, a couple of years of control at a very low rate of salary. And if the Reds are thinking about trading Castillo, they're in rebuild mode. They don't want to pay these guys any money. So that's why McNeil is very valuable. Dominic Smith is very valuable. And then if you could throw in a Mauricio in there or a Vientos in there, that's a package that you can work with to try to get Castillo or another big-time pitcher that might be on the market. But I think, you got to understand, Billy Eppler, he's not stupid. He knows what he's doing. He has a way, like I said, nobody expected the Mets to sign Starling Marte. I don't even think that was probably a question a week ago. Because honestly, I didn't think the Mets were going to go the 4 years with Marte, but they did. And Marte had other options. Marte could have went to the Marlins, who was in it until the end. Marte could have went to the Angels. Marte could have went to a lot of places. But Eppler got the extra year, and I think that's what Eppler is really good at, is convincing the player to come to this team. He might be, like Scherzer is getting older. He wants to win a championship or another one. And I think he wants to be convinced that the Mets are going to do more than after they sign him. Because let's be honest, if the Mets sign Scherzer, obviously that's a big upgrade in this rotation. It brings everybody back in the rotation, right? You got DeGrom. You'll have Scherzer. You got Carrasco. You got Walker. And then you can figure out your fifth starter, David Peterson or Tyler McGill. You make them fight it out in spring training. And then you work on depth pieces that can step in for like an injury to a fourth or fifth starter. That's what I think that the Mets should do. But again, you keep on refreshing Twitter. There's more and more news. What's been going on? Let's see what else happened here. Aviso Garcia. I just seen a Simeon to the Rangers. Nothing with the Mets yet. Somebody brought up something about the Yankees. I don't care about the Yankees, obviously. But again, the Yankees ain't doing nothing because honestly, they honestly only are looking at the shortstops that are available, honestly, and maybe Matt Olson. But that's a story for another channel. But it seems very interesting though. But I mean, it's interesting because we're Marcus Simeon's contract, the 7 years. It's very interesting because I think that kind of have a trickle-down effect with the shortstops, Baez and Correa and all that. The Mets are going to pay a hefty price to get Baez. And me personally, I don't want to give Baez no more than $170 million. So that worries me a little bit because that means the price is going to be going up because Simeon got a great deal. I mean, he got 7 years over $170 million. That's a lot of money. And Simeon's pretty damn good. So, I don't know how many shortstops are going to come off the board by December 2nd. You only got 3 days or 2 days actually until the lockout is possibly going to happen. So I don't know, guys. Like I said, I'd rather go after Bryant. I'd rather put Escobar at second base. Go after Bryant, put him at third base, and go from there. You got Nimmo in right field. You got Marte in center. You figure out what you're going to do with left field. If you're going to keep Dominic Smith or Kana, it really does depend. But once again, guys, I think the Mets are set up. And the good thing about this is that they've been in on almost everybody. They have so many options that they're basically putting their hands in a cookie jar and just picking out, oh, I want this. Let's see if we can get him. Like I said, if the Mets can convince Scherzer, it's a no-brainer. And then the Mets, like I said, could the Mets sign Scherzer and still go after Marcus Stroman? Maybe, but that's a lot of money, but they still have holes to fill position-wise. And I don't feel comfortable. I mean, I would be happy with Baez, but I don't trust Baez. That's my biggest problem. And I know Kevin brought that up. Do the Mets sign Baez? I think they will. Personally, I don't like it. I think they can get Bryant, and I think he'll be worth the money more than Baez. But again, there's so much back and forth with everything. So we'll see. You know, the Tigers are very interested in Baez as well. All right, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, you know, Kluber signed with the Rays, and he'll probably win 16 games for them and have like a 3 ERA because that's what the Rays do. you know, oh, sorry. Yeah, you see with Suzuki, you know, it's not a bad idea. And again, I think Suzuki is going to come off the board by December 2nd. But I think Suzuki's waiting for a team to miss out on another outfielder, you know, like Castellanos or something like that. But hey, it's not a bad option. If you get Suzuki, your outfield is set. You got Suzuki, you got Marte, you got Nimmo. Now you have to figure out who you're going to keep, Dominic Smith or Jeff McNeil. And Jeff McNeil is not going to be a guy to sit on the bench. I think Dominic Smith can be valuable. But again, if you can use him in a trade package to get another pitcher in here, like I said, it's really going to determine, because it seems like Gausman and Scherzer are going to make up their mind by at least tomorrow. There was a lot of tweets yesterday about 24 to 48 hours from both of them. They're both going to sign by the December 2nd deadline. So it'd be nice if they do it early enough so the Mets can make a move. Sorry, guys. My phone's like going crazy with Twitter. You know, they have to actually have an idea soon, because then they can pivot to somebody else. And like I said, that's why I think, you know, it was a pipe dream to all of us 3 days ago, thinking that Scherzer would come to the Mets, that the Mets can get Scherzer. But if Scherzer didn't want to come to the Mets, he can easily just told the Mets, I'm not coming. And then the rumors would have stopped. But something is enticing Scherzer to keep on talking to the Mets. And I think that Eppler has got his hand on the pulse on this one. And that's why I think Scherzer is going to come to the Mets. You know, all Scherzer, you know, would you be surprised if Scherzer, you know, could Eppler go crazy and say, we'll give you 2 years, $100 million, $50 million per? I mean, Bauer basically got $80 million, almost $90 million last year in the offseason when the Mets almost got Bauer. Thank God we didn't. So it's possible. You know, they're expecting Scherzer to get somewhere around 40 to 45 million. Maybe Eppler blows him out of the water and says, listen, we'll give you $50 million to come to the East Coast. Who would say no to that? I don't think he would. Rob, I agree. I don't want Stroman. You know, if it's an option after we get Scherzer or Gausman, fine. As an extra, but you can't have your big piece rotation arm to be Stroman. If that's your only big time arm that goes into the rotation, you didn't solve your biggest rotation issue, because you need a 1A behind Jacob deGrom. You see what happened to Jacob deGrom. As good as Stroman was, he didn't carry the team as much as he possibly can. You know, how many more times do we need 5 in the third innings from a pitcher, right? He talks a big game. He talks like he's an ace. He talks like he's an all-star every year or a Cy Young Award winner, which he never won, by the way. And that's the problem. And that's why if you supplement a Scherzer with a Stroman, now we're talking. That makes sense. But Stroman alone is not going to do it. And then I think that's why you haven't heard nothing with the Mets and Stroman. And it's been proven because Stroman talked about it. The Mets haven't really spoke to him about anything. Why? Because there's other pitchers out there that are better than Stroman that is worth the money, because Stroman, as good as he wasn't good enough to carry this team when deGrom went down. You know, 5 2/3 And 2 runs is not going to get you get your team over the hump when you have to give the bullpen 3 or 4 innings to close out a game. I think that's crazy to go after Stroman unless he's a secondary option. Correa over Baez and Bryant, of course, but I don't think the Mets are going to go over to get Correa over Baez and Bryant, because can Correa go over to third base? Yeah, sure. Can he go over to second? Yeah, sure. But I don't know if the Mets are going to go that route, especially, look, they just got Escobar. Escobar is going to be either your starting third baseman or your starting second baseman, guys. So I don't know how much the Mets are going to go more and spend a little $200 million on a guy like Correa, even though, let's be honest, Correa probably potentially is going to be better than both of them. But I think as the Mets, it's what they're looking like they're trying to do is get guys who are versatile. And Baez, you can say, is like Correa, who can play second and third. But I think Bryant is worth money over Correa and Baez, because Bryant can play anywhere, and it gives you a lot of options. And I think that's what the Mets, it shows what they're trying to do. They got Marte, they got Kana, and they have Nimmo. All these guys can play all 3 positions in the outfield. You got Eduardo Escobar, who can play second or third, which gives Mets options to make a trade for another infielder, a second baseman or a third base, or sign Baez or Bryant, because it gives them options, because Escobar can play either position. So that's what I think the Mets were trying to do. Find guys that can play a lot of different positions so you get options. And that's exactly what Friday told you. The Mets got these guys, and it gives them options if the opportunity comes to sign a player like a Bryant or a Baez or a Correa. It's that possible, guys. Yeah, Matthew, again, like I said, I wouldn't go past 6 years with Baez over $170 million. If we get the Baez that we saw after he came back from the injury in August, I think, the guy with the low strikeout rate, took more walks, more selective at the plate. That's the MVP that we saw with the Cubs. But I don't know if we're going to get that. If we don't get that, it's not worth it. I don't want to see 200 strikeouts for a guy we're paying $180 million to. It's just not worth it. I think Bryant is more of the safe bet. You know what you're going to get from him. You're going to get what you see on the back of his baseball card regarding stats. That's what we should look at. And like I said, Bryant is so versatile. If anybody goes down, you can fill Bryant in that spot. And he can hit you 30 home runs, bat you 280, knocking 80 to 90 RBIs. I love Bryant. I think the Mets should go after him, no doubt. And I don't think Baez is worth it. Gio, that's a good call. Nick Plummer is probably going to be on this team, and it's not a bad idea as a 4th outfielder, and also Khalil Lee possibly as a 5th outfielder. That's fine too. That's not too much of an issue. That they're good guys, but you still need a veteran type of guy as well. Maybe VR will come back as well. The Mets might sign him to put him on the bench as well. He liked it in New York. It seems like he wants to be back. So we'll see. But again, I think the Mets are going to worry about the bench after they know their at least their first their lineup actually is set and their rotation is set. And then I think they'll worry about their bench. And like I said, if the Mets end the offseason, they get Marte, they get Escobar, they get Baez or Bryant, that's a pretty good offseason. The lineup looks a lot different. You don't got the Jeff McNeils, the Dom Smiths, the JD Davises of the world. You don't got Pilar playing in 90 games. You don't got VR playing in 90 games. You got guys who are professional hitters who, are going to put the bat in the ball. They're not big Escobar and Marte are not big time strikeout guys. Marte is a 300 hitter. Escobar is a 280 hitter. Escobar got a lot of power. This guy can hit 30 home runs for you. No doubt about it. And Connor is very interesting to me too. I'm not sure if he's going to be the everyday left fielder. I do feel like the Mets are going to do something else in the outfield to maybe, again, you have to see what the Mets are going to do, because right now we got Dominic Smith and Connor as the left fielder. We got Marte in center. We got Nimmo in right field. So, obviously first baseman's taken, catcher's taken. It's shortstop's taken with Lindor. So second and third, again, Escobar, either or. Again, it's going to depend. I think what you're going to see here, whoever the Mets get, if the Mets get Scherzer or Gausman or Robbie Ray or Stroman or Luis Castillo, as soon as that pitching situation gets figured out, the Mets are probably going to pivot. You're going to start hearing rumors about position players again, probably a Bryant or Baez. Oh, yeah. Look, we've seen it with Bauer. Bauer went back to the Mets, got a big deal from the Mets from Sandy Alderson, went back to the Dodgers, and boom, the Dodgers gave him a little bit more. He could be doing that. But again, I still think the Mets are going to keep on countering with better offers. It's just a matter of does Scherzer just take a little bit less money to stay on the West Coast, or he's going to take the big time money. And I think he might. It's not like he's going to a team that's not going to be better, who has a chance to be making the playoffs. Who's with Scherzer? The Mariners, the Giants, maybe the Dodgers. You haven't really heard much about the Dodgers with Scherzer, honestly. You heard about the Angels. But again, is Scherzer going to go to the Mariners, who haven't made the playoffs in 20 years? They're making moves. They just got Adam Frazier. They got some good players, but is he going to go to a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 20 years? Or a team and an organization where Scherzer sees, okay, I can go to the Angels. Great. You got Trout, you got Syndergaard, you got Upton. Great. But again, that's an Angels team hasn't been good either. Scherzer is going to be the ace of that staff with Syndergaard, who is injury prone, iffy. So it's kind of like, hey guys, if the Dodgers come back and swoop him away, there's nothing you can do. He played with the Dodgers. He's familiar. You can't do nothing about that. But there's a reason why Scherzer is still talking to the Mets. Like I said earlier, Scherzer can easily say, listen, I'm not coming to the East Coast. That would stop everything. It's not like he's going to get less money from the teams on the West Coast, because there's West Coast teams fighting it out. So Scherzer is still being enticed to getting that money. And if it's from the Mets, it's from the Mets. He'll come. It's like he didn't play on the East Coast. He played with Washington all those years. Oh, you know what, Robert? Back last offseason, early on when my channel started, I talked about Bieber. I'd love to get Bieber. I don't know how much it's going to take, but that would be very interesting, though. Yeah, I agree. Stroman is too much of a head case. Even when he was pitching really well, he was always there was something going on. Either was it getting an attitude with the media, getting an attitude with fans on Twitter. It's just too much to me. And it's not worth the hassle. Give me a guy who's a professional, who goes out there every fifth day, pitches well, shuts his mouth, stays in the clubhouse, is a good clubhouse guy. And let's be honest, guys, the Mets clubhouse was toxic. And there's a lot of guys on that team that caused this to be a toxic situation. Lindor did it with McNeil. You saw when Baez came in with the thumbs down. Stroman. It just seemed there was too much toxic chemistry in this clubhouse, and the Mets got to change it. And there's no doubt about it. You got high character guys in Marte and Escobar. That's what the Mets are looking for. And if you bring in Baez, to be buddy with Lindor, we talked about this during the season. it seems like the Mets had clicks last year. You had the Alonso, Davis, and McNeil, and then you had the Baez, Lindor, VR situation. Conforto was kind of back and forth with these two groups. We can't have that because it didn't work out. Clearly, early on in April, when McNeil and Lindor got into that fight in the tunnel of the club dugout, it's not. It started a trickle down effect. I don't think if the players didn't get hurt, like Conforto, McNeil got hurt, and the bench mob came in and kept this team afloat in first place, I don't know if this team would have been in first place if these guys were healthy, because I really do think that it was so toxic that it would have really hurt this team even more and wouldn't have been in first place for 3 months. So there's a lot to look at, and it's clear that the Mets are trying to get this clubhouse to have a good vibe, good chemistry. Elo, I would hate for Baez to come back after he and Lindor basically. I agree, 100%. Do you think? I think he's gonna have a bounce back season, but it's not gonna be for the Mets, Gio. Honestly, it's not gonna be for the Mets. No, I don't think he. I think McNeil is still a valuable trade piece for another team. There's teams calling the Mets about Jeff McNeil, and depending on who them teams are, obviously there's no news about which teams are asking the Mets about McNeil, but teams still see value in McNeil. And depending on what team it is, if they got a nice starting pitcher, that's something that we can look at. Oh, no, I'm not putting Correa and Escobar in the same sentence. Obviously, Correa is a better player, but Escobar is going to be a starter for this team. No doubt about it. It's just a matter of if the Mets get Baez or Correa or Bryant. Escobar is going to play the other position because Bryant, Baez, or Correa are going to play either second or third, and then Escobar is just going to take that other spot. And, people are hating on Escobar, but honestly, on Friday when all those 3 deals went down, I was more excited about Escobar than I was with Marte. And the reason why is because Escobar is a professional hitter who can hit you 30 home runs, who's going to bat 260, 270, and he has pretty good defense. It's an upgrade from J.D. Davis, no doubt. And it's a solid move. The Mets can't just do Marte, Escobar, and Kana, and that's the only thing they do position player-wise. That's going to be a problem. That just goes back to a Wilpon type of situation. We don't want that. I do feel like the Mets are going to make one more big position player move, and I think it's either going to be Bryant or Baez. Again, I don't think the Mets are going to go in a bidding war with another team for Baez. I think the Mets are going to set their price. Baez, you were with the Mets. If you like it here, if you want to play with your friend, you got to take this number. We're not going more than that. That's it. Don't go into a bidding war with the Tigers or somebody else for Baez. It's not worth it. I'd rather just give the money to Bryant. Andre, I agree. The Mets will trade McNeil. Yeah, that's why it's risky, with Baez. The 2021 Baez in the second half when he came back from injury was the guy I would have no problem giving $200 million to, because he can be selective. He took walks. He wasn't striking out as much. And he was a beast on the base paths. But it's too much of a question mark to give big time money like that. I agree. I do. I don't think Alvarez. I think Alvarez is like 2 years away at least. I don't think you're going to see Alvarez up here until probably the final year or two of McCann's contract. Beatty is interesting, but it really does depend on what the Mets do this offseason. Vientos possibly can be a part of this bench, no doubt. If the Mets don't do nothing else, can Vientos be out there a baseman? I mean, it's not exciting, but he's shown that he can hit for power, and he's good defensively. But it really depends on what the Mets do. But Alvarez probably about 2 years away. Oh, Enzo, yeah, he strikes out a lot, but I still think he's more valuable than Baez. Baez can easily strike out. I mean, he'll have 5 at bats and strike out 3 of them. I still think Bryant puts the bat on the ball more. I think he's more selective than Baez. But I do think Bryant can still be that big time player. And again, I think he's more valuable, on the field because he can play anywhere. And I feel like I can trust Bryant. I can't trust Baez. And I don't think it's if you're gonna say both Bryant and Baez are gonna get $180 million for pick the years, 6 or 7 years. Who would you trust in 5 years from now that can be the player that you would expect from that contract, stats wise? I feel like Bryant will give you more. That's just me. Yeah, I don't think Correa is yeah, no. I don't think the Mets are gonna get Correa. Escobar, I mean, he's been injured but that was like 5 years ago. But Escobar, I think he's gonna be fine. I mean, he didn't play in small ballparks. He played in Arizona. He played in Milwaukee. Those are not bandboxes. It's not like he played in Philadelphia or Yankee Stadium. Let's see. Pass and tweet. All right, let's see what's going on here on Twitter. Let's go into this Twitter look right now while we're live. All right, Jeff Passan. The madness is just beginning. This is going to be a whale of a 24 hours. Obviously, we knew that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. If only all the off seasons were like this. Let's see what else we got here. Got any other good details? Let's see. The Rangers in agreement with Cole Calhoun. Interesting. Rangers are making moves. What else we got? Let's see if we got any more goodies. No, it's not much anymore. But next 24 hours are going to be I'm telling you, I think both Gausman and Scherzer are going to sign tomorrow. It's a Monday. Everybody's back in the office, so to speak. I think those two guys are going to sign. And honestly, I want Scherzer, but I'm not going to be mad about either one of them. I think one of them's got to be on this rotation, and the Mets got to do everything they can to do it. Yeah, they're good hitters parks, but they're not. Like I said, they're not Philadelphia. They're not Yankee Stadium. They're not Cincinnati. These are ballparks that a bandbox. You get a pop up, it's over the wall. Arizona is not a small ballpark. Milwaukee, is an average size ballpark, but let's be honest. 38 home runs is no fluke. 28 home runs is not a fluke. They can easily hit that at Citi Field. But again, you're not looking for Escobar to be a 30 home run hitter for this Mets team. The same thing with Marte. Marte, I think, had 15 home runs or 12 or 15 home runs in 2021. He is a guy who is an on-base guy, who gets on base, steals bases, plays really good defense, and then, puts the bat on the ball. And that's what Marte is. Marte is a leadoff hitter, basically. And that's where the Mets probably going to put him. And then if the DH is there, it's a good thing as well because you can actually get Marte off his feet in the outfield and just DH him and keep that bat in the lineup and his speed in the lineup. Put in Marte and Nimmo 1-2. You got on base percentage guys, and let's be honest, I think Nimmo's the perfect number 2 hitter. He's not afraid to go the other way. He puts the bat on the ball. He will take a walk. He takes a lot of pitches, which is perfect for a guy like Marte who is looking to steal a base. Nimmo will be a perfect number 2 hitter, with Marte being the leadoff hitter. You can play around with the lineup after that. Lindor, Alonso. It really does depend. If you want to put, let's see, you could put, depending on who we get, Escobar, you could put Baez, Bryant. It really depends. The lineup is not filled out yet, so it's hard to put up a lineup. But I think your first 4 batters at the moment with who we got is Marte leadoff, Nimmo second, Lindor third, Alonso fourth. I like that. That's pretty damn good. You got Marte, who's a speed guy. You got Nimmo, who take a lot of pitches to give Marte an opportunity to steal a base. You got Nimmo, who, if he has to put a bunt down to move the runner over, he can do that. Puts the bat in the ball. Contact guy with a little bit of sneaky power. Perfect for number 2. Lindor, I think he's a prime guy for the 3rd spot. I think he's going to show a lot more power than he did last year because he does have power. And then you got the big bat in Alonso. Then that's your 4 right there. Everybody's going after Fernando again. Look, you got to remember, guys, Fernando, you remember in the offseason last year, you kept on saying the Mets should get Baez. The Mets should get Baez over Lindor. The Mets get both of them, and you still don't want it. Now you talk about Correa. And then when you get Correa, you're probably mad about that too. The Mets should have got Story. But once again, guys, the Mets are aggressively pursuing Max Scherzer right now and have a contract offer that was rumored on Twitter, 5 years, $140 million. I'm not a genius, but I guess I will look that up real quick. Let's see, 140 divided by 5 is $28 million for Gausman. That's a lot of money. But again, pitchers are not Noah Syndergaard, who pitched 2 innings last year, got $21 million. So it is what it is with that. So Gausman, the Mets reportedly offered Gausman 5 years, 140. It seems like he's going back to the Giants to see if they were going to match it, because there was a couple of rumors or reports that the Giants were giving like 2 or 3 year deals to Gausman with a high AAV. But again, I think if the Giants come close to the Mets number, Gausman is probably gone. But again, Max Scherzer is very intriguing because, again, Max Scherzer could have easily said to the Mets, listen, I'm not coming to the East Coast. Don't even bother. And he could have had the West Coast teams bidding for him. So clearly Scherzer is still interested in coming to the Mets because he could have easily shut them down. So what else can the Mets do? After the pitching scenario is probably going to be figured out by tomorrow, those 2 guys are probably going to be off the board. They're going to sign somewhere. If the Mets do not get either of these guys, what do the Mets do? I think the Mets got to pivot to the trade market and do everything they can to get Luis Castillo. If they don't get Scherzer or Gausman, they have to try to get Luis Castillo. Because if they don't get Scherzer and they don't get Gausman, they're looking at a free agent market that has Robbie Ray and Marcus Stroman. And I don't know if the Mets want either of them. So the Mets have to get Luis Castillo if they lose out on Scherzer and Gausman. But tomorrow's going to be a big day. I'm probably going to go live again. Going to be waiting around, making sure, checking Twitter as soon as one or both of them sign, I will be going live. I might be in my car. I don't know where I'll be, but I'll be going live. So we'll see. Let's see what else we got in the comment. Would prefer them giving money to Correa and or Bryant. I agree, Fernando. Stonia, I think Robbie Ray's a long shot. I think that would probably be a third option. I think if the Mets do lose out on Scherzer and Gausman, maybe they'll go that route. We'll see. Stoney, I don't know if they're gonna get both of them. That would be crazy though. Yeah, La Potencia. I agree. I like, I'm finally off from work, so it's like, yay, thank God. Now I can I'm literally like waking up and I check Twitter and I see all these notifications about the Mets signed 3 players by midnight and signed Marte late Friday, or it might have been like Saturday morning at 12 a.m. So it's like, damn. Jose, what card do I have? I'm not going to say. I'll tell you this is blue. But that's not shocking, right? Robert, what is the best media outlet to follow baseball team? Robert, right here. Like I said, I follow. I try to follow all the baseball writers. I try to follow, like, if there's an off season where there's a lot of when there's free agents out there, I try to like say like Bryant. I would try to find the Giants beat reporter that's on Twitter, just because they might have a little bit of news based on that area on the West Coast. The same thing with Gausman, another Giants reporter. I try to get with Scherzer. I try to get someone on in LA, a beat reporter, and then obviously the Ken Rosendals, the Joel Sherman, Andy Martinos, John Heyman, those type of guys. Yeah, Stoney, I know. Off season's insane. At least after a game during the season, Mets win or lose, you go to sleep. You complain about it, but still. Bill, I know I'm starting to grow. Hey, listen, it's all because of you guys, right? But since everybody's there's a lot of people in the stream right now. It went up to around 60 right now. Just so you know, guys, I'm doing something with my channel that is gonna benefit a lot of you guys. And obviously, I've been doing giveaways and stuff like that, but I'm gonna be doing more things with the channel that I'm gonna be promoting soon. Probably sometime next week, during this week, probably Monday. I would say maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm trying to get everything together. I'm trying to make it as perfect as possible, so it's not confusing and everybody understands. And then when I do that, I will do a YouTube short about it, and then I'll do an actual video regarding what it is and how you can actually be a part of it. And when I do that, you guys are welcome to be a part of it if you want. I hope you guys do. It will be fun, and don't get me wrong. It's going to be a lot of perks. It's going to be ideas. It's going to be opinions. It's going to be private videos. All types of stuff that some things that if you're willing to be a part of, you will get access to, and that's something that I'll actually starting to fix up and finish up. So, Bill, it is growing, and I appreciate it from all you guys, because obviously it's not going to grow without you guys. And over the last 3 months, 400 or 500 subscribers in like 3 months, makes the channel a lot more appealing. The more people turn into the stream, the more subscribers, the more people like the videos, keep on tuning in. It's really important because it gets out to more people, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm talking to I don't know if a lot of you guys listen to WFAM, but if you heard of Danielle McCartan, she is a fill-in at WFAN on the radio. She does like Saturday overnights, Sunday overnights, 2 or 3 times a week. I got in touch with her. She's going to be on my channel sometime in the near future. I'm going to do a little Q&A with her. I'm not sure if I'm going to go live or I'm just going to do a pre-recorded video. She's actually very good. She's excellent knowledge of sports. So I'm going to try to get her. I'm also trying to get another beat reporter, either Pat Ragazzo. You might see him on Twitter. He is with the some New Jersey newspaper. I'm going to try to get him on, but I'm going to try to do a lot of different things this year, getting special guests and do collaborations with other guys on that have channels, Hayden, METS Talk, there's a lot of different channels that I'm going to do collaborations with, and those are always fun as well. So new things coming to the channel that all you guys can be a part of, and guests that are going to be coming up over the off season as well, especially during the possible lockout when there ain't going to be no player movement at all. So there ain't going to be a lot to talk about except what happened before the lockout. So we shall see. All right, Stoney, have a good day, buddy. I will ask her, don't worry. Fernando, probably not. So once again, guys, we're gonna cut this stream just now. Once again, guys, Joel Sherman just said it's going to be, or was it? It was Jeff Passan just said 24 hours is going to be very, very crazy. So look out for a live stream sometime tomorrow if there's some breaking news regarding Gausman or Scherzer signing. I will go live, but check out the other videos that I've done. The video that I did about Gausman yesterday got a lot of views. Keep on checking that out, guys. Check out my other videos that I did regarding managers. I did Luis Castillo trade package. I did hot stoves. If you want to check from the other Tuesdays that I do every hot stove, Tuesday I will do hot stove live again. So hopefully you guys tune in. So once again, guys, if you haven't hit on that like button, don't forget to hit on this like button right now, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't as of yet. Share this link to people that you know if they want to tune in to a channel. It's going to be a lot of fun. And this is going to be a lot of fun. This channel is growing, and in the coming days, you will see what I'm going to do to make it a lot more enticing to everybody and give you exclusive looks on different things I do with my channel that you're going to have access to. So once again, guys, I really do appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time. Let's see if the Mets make another big sign-in. Have a good night, guys. And as always, let's go Mets. Have a good night, everybody.